Hey, and welcome back to my channel. And this is episode 3 of the challenge I've set myself to record a 10ish minutes video every day on a topic, just trying to practice speaking completely unscripted, unedited, and so on. And the topic of today's video is a recipe. Well, what is it I eat as a single person who lives the loner life, lives alone? What do I eat, and why have I chosen this topic? Now, I've already started to go a bit off script, or I guess there is no script actually. This is unscripted talking. So when I mean going off script, I mean for the first couple of videos, the plan was to follow the pathway put out by the Unrefined channel, which I'll keep put in the description, and I find that it's tailored more towards a specific kind of person, perhaps the 30-day challenge that she has put together, or 30-day project thing. And I was going to originally just do the first two suggestions and then start doing my own thing, as I described in some previous videos. The idea is to adapt it to my own needs. But I was looking through the topics, and this one just cracked me up. Like, why not talk about this? Talk about a recipe that I like to make. Now, as I've mentioned before, or as I keep going on about, I suppose, as a single person, lives like a loner lifestyle, everything in my life it's optimized as much as I can do to allow myself to have as much free time, and also to optimize my spending as well. That's a big thing for me. Like, I have this irrational, or perhaps perfectly rational, fear that we're kind of in trouble in the future. Like, I'm in my 30s. I'm going to be working, I guess, for another at least 30, 40 years now. Am I going to be able to afford to retire? So I just do everything I can to save money, really, and put it away. And I can't believe how much debt some of my colleagues and the people I know are in. Like, I would be so unbelievably stressed, but they seem to somehow be fine. But it's not for me to judge these things. I can just focus on myself. So what's this got to do with cooking and recipes? Well, I find in general that I'm really happy with just the simpler things in life, particularly when it comes to food. I'm not really one for fancy expensive things, or these meal subscriptions or anything along those lines. Ready meals, I'm not a fan of those. I like just cooking for myself, cooking batches of things, and I do generally just cook the same thing. I do cook other things as well. Like, I do actually have a secret cooking channel that I might occasionally bring up. It's like a point of view cooking channel. Oh, that's a sidetrack already. One thing I'd recommend for anyone trying something like this, the getting into content creation or anything in general, is to perhaps have multiple projects going on at the same time. So if you get bored of one for a bit, you can temporarily then work on another one. I find if you only have one thing going on at a time, then it's easy just to get really bored and frustrated with that and almost resent it. But if you have multiple things to look forward to, or to work on, you can just, whatever inspires you at the time, get on with that. This is going to be something to talk about more in the future, though. I've already rambled on for long enough. Let's talk about my famous recipe, my famous Bolognese, or meat ragu, or whatever they call it in various other countries, Bolognese. And this is something that I've basically tailored for my own tastes over the decades, and I could just eat some right now. Like, I could eat it every day for lunch and dinner. Maybe not breakfast, that'd be a bit unusual, but like, when I talk to my colleagues about it, they're like, why are you just eating the same thing? They would get so bored of it. But yeah, without further ado, let me go over the recipe for the perfect batch cook of a bolognese sauce that is so good and is so cheap and is quick. So that's the criteria I have. Now, I start off, well, as of recently, or last year or so, I start off with a jar of generic bolognese sauce from my local supermarket, so Tesco's. I used to think that it was better just buying the tomatoes, the onions, the spices and all that stuff, and making it that way. And perhaps it is, but it actually ends up costing more money, and you kind of end up with the same product, I found. And it is all down to efficiency for me. So I get the the standard size, so that's like a 500-gram jar, so that's like a pound in imperial measurements, I believe, sort of. Well, actually, generally speaking, I find a lot of these things they're sized up based upon what's locally available in your country. So let's say in the UK, a jar of sauce is 500 grams, and it's designed for to add 500 grams of meat. So in your country, it might just be a jar of sauce for whatever the standard size packaging of meat is. So that could be a pound jar for a pound of meat, something along those lines. So anyway, I get this jar of sauce, and it hasn't got anything in it. It's just a tomatoey sauce with onions and spices, and I get a packet of meat. So number one is browning the meat. So you get the meat, and I follow the Adam Ragusa method of browning the mince. So you get like a screaming hot frying pan. I bought a cast iron pan recently, and I want to try it with that, but usually I just use a Teflon non-stick pan, so I'm poisoning myself with the Teflon. Get it nice and hot, get the meat out, put the whole block of meat in the pan, so it comes in like a big square, the meat, or a rectangle or something, and push it down as much as you can while the pan is still hot to get some browning. So it's like it'll look like a giant hamburger basically when it's pressed out. Don't press too hard, I find, because if you press too hard, you end up touching the pan and burning your hands. And while that's sizzling away, just wash your hands and tidy up after yourself. You want to be efficient. You don't want to live in like a mess. You can't just leave meat packets everywhere. Just chuck that away. While that's happening, the second thing you need is a pressure cooker. So that's how I get things done nice and efficiently, so it ends up beautiful. So you get your pressure cooker and you put your jar of sauce in it. You can use one of them electric ones, but I have a gas stove, so I just pop it on the gas stove. It's just like a big just like a big saucepan really, with a different type of lid. So you pop the sauce in there, and you start seasoning the sauce. So what I do is I put a big, perhaps tablespoon of garlic powder. I add that to add some additional flavour. I also add a big tablespoon of oregano, or oregano, whatever it's called, and then you sort of mix it up. And then there's the first secret ingredient, and that is the Lee Kum Kee. So this is an Asian supermarket style product. Lee Kum Kee mushroom stir fry sauce. I put like a good few glugs of that in. It's about 50 mils, I think, in total. So for a 500-gram jar of sauce, I put in 50 mils of this mushroom sauce. It makes it so good. This is what elevates it to the next level. You haven't got to put any stock in, just put the mushroom sauce in. Okay. Then after you've done that, while that's going on, that's heating up on a separate hob, or you're heating it up to boiling temperature on its electric pressure cooker mode. You start you get your spatula and you start breaking up the beef into small pieces. So you just keep playing around with it until it's in nice small pieces. And this will take a sort of 5 or so minutes. And the important thing is, when you're cooking the beef, it's releasing a lot of water. It's not releasing a lot of fat. So, at least not yet. So you want to wait for all that water to evaporate, essentially, while you're breaking it up. So you are like browning this beef to try and get some delicious caramelization on it. You're breaking it up, trying to get all the water to evaporate. And eventually, about 5-10 minutes, it'll start sizzling. And that's the stage you want to get to. So then you kind of play around with it at that stage for a bit. And then cut the heat and put on basically a table of sweet smoked Spanish paprika. Okay, that's the next secret ingredient. And stir it around. You don't want this while the heat's on, because you can burn it really easily and get like this horrible, bitter, woody taste or something along those lines. Like you've got loads of burnt wood in your food, or charcoal. So you stir this up, and then pop it in the pressure cooker with the sauce, which is hopefully now boiling. And then you'll notice that it's really, really dry. So you got to you get your jar that the sauce came in, fill it up about halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way with water, shake it up to get all the good bits out, and add that to the pressure cooker as well. And you'll need this so it comes to pressure, like some kind of liquid in there. Stir it all up and put in about 4 dry bay leaves. And that is pretty much it then for all the prep. You can pop the lid of the pressure cooker on, and you want to pressure cook it on high, okay, on high for 45 minutes. And that's what I find is the best. That's kind of the equivalent of like maybe 3 hours of cooking at not high pressure, just simmering, I think. And the reason I do that is so that God, I've lost my train of thought all of a sudden. The reason I do that is so that it comes out nice and soft, and it comes out beautifully after that period of time. Once you open it, you take the bay leaves out, and you can portion it up. You generally get 6 portions for this, so 6 portions which you can then have with some pasta or on a jacket potato or anything, or just eat it by itself. And that's pretty much what I've been living off really for, I don't know, the last few years. It's so cheap, although the price of beef is going up quite considerably recently, unfortunately. It used to be like something like £2.30 for a pack, and now it's over £5, which is a bit of a shame. I don't think there's been like, 100% inflation in the last couple of years, but I guess the price of meat has been like hugely affected by this. But yeah, that's my one meal, and I strongly recommend you try it. I've been tinkering with it and tailoring it, changing things every now and then over the last sort of decade. It used to be much more complicated, but I'm just happy with how it is. And that's just how it is really. As long as you have something like a meal that's cheap, nutritious, easy to make, then that's one less thing to worry about when you're trying to optimize your life. And when you're living alone, you don't want to just be cooking a full meal every single day, maybe on the occasion, but this is good enough for me. But yeah, I feel like I was rambling as usual quite a lot with that. Thanks for listening to this though. Maybe this has inspired you to start batch cooking, or try some recipes, or try to optimize any recipes you currently make. Perhaps you feel you're spending way too much money on food, and you can make some savings by batch cooking something like this, something which will come out much nicer than a ready meal, like an expensive ready meal. But it's something you've cooked yourself, and you can just pop it in the freezer, take it out when you need to, microwave it, and job's done. But yeah, thank you, and I'll be back tomorrow with a new video.